Lorenzo Vidino's work, particularly in The West and the Muslim Brotherhood, A History of Enmity, and his extensive reporting, doesn't just describe an organization. It dissects a 70-year strategy of ideological infiltration and cultural conquest that Western intelligence agencies have largely ignored, misunderstood, or actively enabled. Forget dialogue. Forget political Islam. This is about what Vidino frames as a permanent, sophisticated, and patient war for the soul of Western civilization, waged not with bullets, but with institutions. The Muslim Brotherhood, after being crushed in the Arab world, Egypt, Syria, did not give up. It strategically relocated its operational headquarters to the West, London, Munich, Geneva, Washington, D.C., and executed a long-term plan not for terrorism, but for something far more insidious, civilizational capture. This is the project, a plan not to blow up buildings, but to transform the West from within. 1. Establishing a vast network of front organizations, mosques, charities, student associations, think tanks, advocacy groups. 2. Gaining recognition as the moderate representative of Muslims to governments and media. 3. Systematically advancing an ideology of Islamic supremacy wrapped in the language of multiculturalism and human rights. 4. Create parallel societies governed not by Western law, but by a gradualist interpretation of Sharia. This is the three-pronged strategy, the Brotherhood's playbook in the West. 1. The doctrine of settlement, or tamkeen, and civilization jihad. This is the philosophical heart of the controversy. Vidino draws on captured Brotherhood documents, like the Explanatory Memorandum for the General Strategic Goal for the Group in North America, 1991. This text outlines the goal of settling Islam in the West, making it a permanent force, and working to destroy Western civilization from within. It's a non-violent incrementalist conquest. The tools are demographic growth, large families, dawah, proselytation, building financial and institutional power, and political lobbying. The end goal is not coexistence, but dominance. 2. The practice of deception, taqiyya and kitman. Vidino argues the Brotherhood has mastered a strategic doublespeak. He provides extensive evidence of its leaders giving moderate, conciliatory interviews in English to Western media and policymakers, while giving radically different triumphalist speeches in Arabic to their base. Public face: we are a peaceful, democratic organization promoting integration. Private face in internal sermons in Arabic media, celebrating the awakening of the Islamic identity, rejecting integration as assimilation, and viewing Western societies as morally bankrupt lands to be Islamicized. The controversy? Vidino's work forces the question, which face is real? His evidence suggests the private, ideological face is the true one, and the public face is a tactical disguise for survival and advancement. 3. The penetration of institutions. This is the tactical execution. The Brotherhood and its sympathizers, often labeled Islamists, have systematically targeted key societal pillars. Politics. Forming political coalitions, advising governments on counter-extremism, often defining extremism so narrowly it excludes their own ideology, and cultivating relationships with useful idiots, on both the left as an oppressed minority and the right as religious conservatives. Education, influencing school curricula on Islam, dominating Islamic studies departments at universities and controlling campus Muslim student associations. Finance, building a vast Sharia-compliant financial network that funds the ecosystem and creates economic independence and influence. Law and media, promoting narratives of widespread Islamophobia, using anti-discrimination laws to silence critics and positioning themselves as the arbiters of what is acceptable discourse on Islam. Here's the most explosive allegations. Western governments are complicit. Vidino details how, in a post-9/11 panic, Western intelligence agencies funded and partnered with Brotherhood-linked groups in a disastrous see no evil outreach, believing they were the moderate alternative to al-Qaeda. This granted them legitimacy, funding, and a seat at the policy table they never would have earned otherwise. 2. The Trojan horse in schools. He documents cases like in the UK, where Islamists, following Brotherhood ideological lines, systematically infiltrated school boards to Islamize education, segregate genders, and fire secular teachers. 3. It's a global command structure. The West isn't hosting independent community groups. It's hosting the global leadership of a movement that takes orders from a centralized guidance council, Maktab al-Irshad, often based in Istanbul or Doha. Donations from Western Muslims are funneled through this network to support the global cause. The philosophical and existential challenge. Vidino's work presents the ultimate asymmetric conflict. The West fights with laws, openness, and pluralism. The Brotherhood exploits those tools to advance an ideology that ultimately rejects pluralism and seeks to replace secular law with divine law. The West is playing checkers. The Brotherhood in this portrayal is playing a 100-year game of civilizational chess. Why this is the most controversial book on your shelf. It doesn't just criticize an organization, it accuses the entire liberal democratic establishment of suicidal naivety. It states plainly, multiculturalism, as practiced, is a weapon used against its host. Interfaith dialogue is often a staged theater where the Islamic side negotiates from a position of immutable theological supremacy. The war on terror missed the main threat, not the guys in caves, but the guys in suits running well-funded NGOs a mile from the capital. The unavoidable, ugly question Vidino forces upon the reader. Can a liberal, secular society survive if it grants unconditional freedom to an organized movement whose ultimate goal, according to its own foundational documents, is to end that liberal secular order? This is not a book about Islamophobia. This is a book about what Vidino presents as documented strategic enmity. To dismiss it is to dismiss thousands of pages of internal documents, speeches, and organizational charts. To accept it is to accept that the West is in a state of unrecognized, low-intensity civil war with an ideology that has made its home in our cities, our universities, and our halls of power. The history of enmity is not just in the past. Vidino's terrifying conclusion is that it is the operating manual for the present, and we are the last to know.